Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, it was in 2015 that cattle prices collapsed while retail beef prices continued climbing. And since that time, there has been an unprecedented spread between what cattle producers receive for their cattle and what consumers pay for the beef in their grocery stores. And then 7 years after the market broke, Congress began to hold hearings, with 3 hearings held last year. And this year marks the 8th year following the severe break in the market, and in January, Congress held another hearing. But yet, as of today, Congress has taken no action to fix the broken market. Nevertheless, you'll be happy to hear that Congress is holding 2 more hearings on the broken market next week. One will be to consider a watered-down version of the bill that would have forced the globalist beef packers to compete in the marketplace for at least half of the cattle they harvest. That was Senate Bill 949. Which was first introduced 2 years ago, and it's now unrecognizable in the watered-down version being considered by Congress. Now, the other congressional hearing scheduled for next week will bring in the CEOs of the 4 largest beef packers. In March, when this hearing was first announced, the chairman of the House Agriculture Committee stated its purpose would be to determine whether anti-competitive behavior by the largest meatpacking companies caused increased beef prices and unfair difficulties to farmers and ranchers to the detriment of U.S. food consumers. And he said at the time, it is critical that we find out if industry concentration and anti-competitive behavior is playing a role in inflating prices for consumers and preventing ranchers from receiving a fair price. Now that sounds like an important hearing. But this month, the chairman of the House Agriculture Committee described the hearing's purpose a bit differently. Now the purpose of the hearing is to discuss cattle markets and price increases for consumers. And the chairman stated, it is very important, very vital, and very urgent that we hear the perspectives from the CEOs at these companies and get the full picture of why prices have gone up for consumers and down for ranchers. So in a month's time, the tone from the House Agriculture Committee has been moderated significantly. Yet this hearing should be very interesting. And it will also include a panel of ranchers. And we know at least 2 of those ranchers have a first-hand knowledge regarding how dysfunctional the cattle market is. But the point is this, the cattle market has been broken for going on 8 years. And after next week's hearing, the only thing Congress will have done about it is to hold 6 hearings. Meanwhile, we're losing more and more cattle producers. How many exactly, we don't know, because that data won't be available until the next Census of Agriculture. We do know that based on USDA data, we've lost another 1,000 smaller feedlots in just 1 year. That's between 2020 and 2021. Now that represents a 4% loss of feedlots in just 1 year. Now the prolonged and chronically dysfunctional cattle market, combined with persistent and widespread drought, and further worsened by record feed prices, will likely spell disaster, absolute disaster this year for the United States cattle industry. And by year's end, our industry may no longer look like what it is today. What is desperately needed is an infusion of competitive market forces to reconnect the depressed cattle prices with the record high beef prices. And that infusion of competitive market forces is needed immediately. So let's look at the best that Congress is presently offering to put an end to this crisis. It's the watered-down bill that the Senate Agriculture Committee will be considering next week. It's called the Cattle Market Price Discovery and Transparency Act of 2022. It's Senate Bill 4030. The act directs the USDA to divide the country into as many as 7 regions. It then sets a floor and a ceiling for each of the regions regarding the volume of cattle each packer in each region must purchase in the negotiated market. And then it gives the USDA carte blanche as to whether to raise the volumes above the floor. The floor is the past 2-year averages, and the ceiling is 50%. But nowhere in the act is the USDA directed to change those volumes above the floor, and it gives the USDA up to 2 years to make any decision. This act is a woefully inadequate response to the present crisis. Congress is merely kicking the can down the road and abdicating its lawmaking authority by passing the buck to the USDA. Now, cattle producers cannot fix the broken market. Only Congress can do that by setting new rules. But so far, Congress refuses to do that. It must try harder. To learn more and to help, please go to www r-calfusa.com. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.